Welcome to your daily dose of sci-fi adventures. New stories dropped every single day. Smash that subscribe button and ring the to help us reach 1,000 subscribers and unlock even more epic cosmic tales. The cold grandeur of Zirion Station loomed against the velvet void, its 100 gleaming spires reflecting distant starlight like a crown of ice. Within its council chamber, carved from translucent crystalline alloys, the atmosphere itself seemed to press down upon humanity's delegates. Captain Mara Ali stood at the edge of a wide obsidian dais, her uniform's silver epaulets catching flecks of ambient light. Round her, representatives of Earth, Mars, Titan, and the outer colonies waited in tense silence. On the opposite dais, the High Council's envoys, members of the 13 most ancient and powerful species in the galactic Concord, sat in judgment. Their faces, half shrouded in ceremonial veils, betrayed nothing of the tempest roiling in their minds. Above them, the conclave's sigillous spiral galaxy encircled by 13 stars hovered mid-air, its rotating center casting hypnotic shadows. When the Grand Arbiter spoke, his voice carried unnatural resonance, as though amplified through some hidden mechanism. Humanity is accused of transgressions against galactic harmony, unsanctioned terraforming, reckless use of gene modification, and most grievous, xenocidal aggression against the Orinthian biocollectives. His words echoed through the chamber, punctuated by solemn silence. Mara's heart thumped in her chest. She'd expected harsh words, yes, but not this. For centuries, humans had fought for acceptance among the stars. Diplomats had brokered treaties, pioneers had mapped unknown worlds, and scientists had labored to heal planets scarred by ancient wars. They had prided themselves on balance, on progress tempered with empathy. Now, that legacy was crumbling. Diplomat Jonas Alexei, standing beside Mara, clenched his jaw until his knuckles whitened. He whispered, "They've twisted our terraforming directives into accusations. They ignore the millions of lives we've saved from the council days." A projector beam flickered to life, displaying grainy footage of a remote terraforming site on Cassari 9. The image showed human nanoreplicators seeding oxygenating algae across red-tinted seas. An Orinthian delegate rose to point. Those replicators spread unchecked, choking out native biota. You reshaped an entire ecosystem without oversight. Mara felt a surge of anger, but also a pang of doubt. In humanity's zealous drive to expand, had they overlooked the subtler consequences? She recalled the early days on Cassari 9, when colonists battled methane storms, desperately seeding life to make the world breathable. They'd worked tirelessly, but in their zeal, perhaps they'd been blind. Yet Orinthian spores had existed there eons ago. Hadn't extinction been inevitable? Before she could respond, the Arbiter's gavel struck. Metallic clangs reverberated. Council verdict: humanity is to be banished beyond the Rim exclusion zone, permanently disallowed from all Concord-affiliated territories and systems. Any attempts at re-entry will be met with force. A collective gasp rose from the human contingent. Banished, exile. The concepts were etched in every culture's history as the ultimate punishment. No appeals, no parole, and the billions of lives represented here would become outcasts in the infinite dark. Outside the chamber's reinforced doors, the orbital hangar's lights glowed like beacons. The fleet assembled there, a magnificent armada of 9 starships, each the size of a small moon, had been poised for exploratory missions. Now they were humanity's lifeline. Among them, the flagship Astronovum stood proud, its hull engraved with Earth's ancient icons, the Twin Towers of New York and the Pyramids of Giza, flanked by the ringed terracottas of Mars. As delegates filed out, Mara turned to her crew. "Prepare the Astronovum for departure," she ordered, her voice calm though her insides roiled. "Deploy all essential habitat modules and population arcships. We take only what we must." Beneath the station's thrumming engines, workers scurried to and fro. Cargo bays opened to reveal legions of civilians, families with children clutching stuffed animals, elders with eyes wide at the station's expanse, scientists dragging containers of lab-grown flora, and farmers pushing soil canisters filled with Earth's last topsoil reserves. Each bore the same question in their silent prayers: what awaits us beyond the Rim? Jonas joined Mara on the command deck as technicians initiated undocking protocols. "Captain," he said softly, "there are distress signals from the Outer Rings miners. Colonists who chose not to board. They refuse to leave our ancestral systems." She studied the station's schematics, dozens of mining colonies in the Virant Belt, research labs on Titan's ice flows, terraforming domes on Mars's northern plains, all now outcasts. "Send evacuation teams," she replied, tone steely. "No one's left behind." Below them, the station's artificial gravity hummed. Mara placed her hand on the holoconsole. "Overriding bureaucratic lockdowns. This is our charge now. Protect our people. We will carve out a new home, even if the stars themselves oppose us." At 0 hour, the Astronovum's engines ignited, flaring cobalt blue against the station's hull. The massive vessel eased away, followed by its sister ships. Through the panoramic viewport, Mara watched Zirian Station recede, a monument to judgment, now fading into the void as the fleet accelerated. A final transmission crackled through comms remote, cold, unfeeling. "Humanity is banished. Good luck surviving the darkness. Darkness, a blank canvas where destiny could be written anew." Mara exhaled, eyes burning with determination. "Set a course for the gray shadow expanse," she commanded. "We journey into the unknown. We carry our past as a lesson and our future as our compass." And so, beneath the silent watch of distant suns, humanity's exiles ventured forth, banished by the Council, yet bound by unbreakable hope. The true exile had just begun. The 9 vessels of the exile fleet slipped through the gravitous corridor and into uncharted space, leaving behind the last echoes of Concord hyperspace beacons. For Captain Mara Elise, standing on the bridge of the Astronovum, the viewports, framed an endless tapestry of glittering suns and drifting nebulous, beautiful, but indifferent. Every crew member aboard carried the weight of banishment in their hearts, yet also a flicker of exhilaration. They were explorers once more, free from old restrictions, free to claim a future of their own making. Beyond the rim, for 18 months the fleet roamed the darkness, probing star systems far beyond the rim exclusion zone. Sensors mapped rogue planets tumbling through interstellar voids, and corvettes charted gas giants whose clouds roiled in electric storms. At the edge of mapped space, the survey ships encountered the debris of a long-dead megastructure, an impossibly vast ring, shattered into floating shards, inscribed with unknown runes that glowed faintly in cosmic radiation. Xenobiologist Dr. Raj Malik led an EVA team to collect samples of the ring's crystalline alloy. Even in ruins, ancient civilizations whispered their secrets to those who dared to listen. But resources were finite. Hydroponic bays strained to feed the growing population. Fusion reactors required ever more heliox crystals from the Virant Belt, and diplomatic overtures to fringe mining clans yielded only grudging barter. The Council's prophecy haunted their trade emissaries. Every human foothold they seized risked kindling another conflict. Yet in exile, humanity relearned the art of compromise, exchanging medical nanites for crystal shipments, teaching hydroponics to alien colonists in return for safe passage. Discovery of Saracen 6 then, on stardate the 4th of November 2030 to the 4th day of the 11th month, according to the New Earth calendar. The Astronovum's long-range scanners pierced a veil of dark matter. Beneath dense cosmic dust lay a nascent star, Saracen 6, barely 1,000,000 years old. In its orbit, 3 small planets spun in tight formation. The third world, dubbed Imaris, radiated promise, temperate zones, abundant water vapor, and spectral signatures of carbon-based molecules. Talia Novak, lead engineer, tapped the holomap with excitement. Imaris's gravity reads at 0.98 grams, almost Earth normal. Atmosphere is nitrogen-oxygen, with trace argon. No detectable biosphere signatures, but plenty of organic precursors. It's a blank slate. Mara allowed herself a rare smile. Prepare the landing fleet. We'll send the Endeavour and the Odyssey to scout surface conditions. Full environmental suits, drones for rapid survey, and biolabs ready for field work. First footprints within days. The scout ships punched through Imaris's swirling blue-green clouds. Below them stretched vast oceans dotted with volcanic archipelagos. and continents painted in hues of ochre and emerald. The initial descent targeted a coastal plain where sensors indicated shallow seas and fertile soil. As the Odysseys landing pods touched down, the hatch doors hissed open to reveal a landscape alive with possibility. Grasses swayed in warm breezes, crystalline rivers carved through red clay banks, and distant mountain peaks caught in golden sunlight. Dr. Malik, suited head to toe, planted the first expedition flag, 3 stripes of blue, white, and copper. He knelt to scoop soil into a sample vial. No indigenous DNA markers, he reported. Abiotic, but fertile, perfect for our terraforming strains. He laced the air with airborne sensors and released nanobot swarms designed to catalyze algal blooms in the tidal pools. But as the expedition pressed inland, they found more than empty terrain. Towering monoliths, smooth, obsidian black, and etched with swirling glyphs, rose like sentinels amid the grasslands. Each stood nearly 100 meters tall, perfectly uniform in shape, and arranged in precise geometrical patterns that stretched for kilometers. Nova cartographer Lin Chang orbited above in a drone pod, her voice crackling over comms. Patterns form a great spiral, converging on what appears to be a buried central chamber. Echoes of an ancient race. A joint team of exolinguists and engineers descended to the monolith field. Using grav scanners, they detected vast subterranean chambers radiating low-frequency hums, perhaps power sources long dormant. Tali and Novak rigged electromagnetic resonance probes to coax the glyphs into luminescent activation. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the stones glowed with phosphorescent runes, and the ground trembled softly, as if acknowledging their presence. The monolith's glyphs told a story, a people called the Avorians, who had risen to mastery over matter itself, shaping worlds through trans-dimensional engineering, but who vanished in a cataclysm they themselves had wrought. Their final warning, carved into the greatest obelisk at the spiral's heart, read in the human's fledgling translation: "In our hubris, we conquered fate, and fate conquered us. Let those who follow balance creation with restraint, lest they awaken oblivion." A hush fell over the team. Captain Elise's voice came over the comm link. "Steady but grave, we carry our history's scars. We honor your legacy, Avorians. We will not repeat your fall." Turning stars into sanctuary, returning to orbit, the council aboard the Astronovum convened. Even though the Avorian caution weighed heavily, necessity spurred action. Terraforming drones, each a marvel of human ingenuity, were programmed to seed microbial life calibrated to Imerus's conditions. Atmospheric processors began regulating greenhouse gas levels. Oceanic dispersal vessels released plankton engineered to bloom in the deep trenches, converting CO into biomass. Meanwhile, civilian arc ships descended to establish the first settlement. New Horizon on a plateau overlooking twin bays. Habitat domes unfolded like flower petals. Solar rays tracked the sun's arc, and beneath the soil, root nets of genetically modified lichens held moisture. Children, some born aboard starliners, took their first steps on solid ground, laughing as they chased native winged insects, benign creatures that filled the sky in muted pastels. Yet challenges remained. Solar flares from Saracen 6s, youthful, star-battered the satellites, requiring constant shield realignments. A malfunction in the atmospheric processor threatened to drop oxygen levels by 5%, sending emergency teams scrambling to repair plasma conduits. A dust storm larger than Earth's Sahara brewed on the planet's northern continent, stirring anxieties about supply lines. Through it all, humanity persevered. Under Talia's guidance, engineers adapted power systems to the star's erratic flares. Biologists developed emergency crop strains that thrived in low oxygen pulses. Scout frigates patrolled the skies for meteor fragments that could be harvested for metals. Every problem spurred innovation. Every hardship forged unity. A new beginning. By the third year of settlement, Imerus had shifted from frontier to fledgling. Home verdant prairies replaced barren rock. Placid lakes mirrored the cobalt sky, and the hum of civilization. Factories humming with fusion power. Transport tubes ferrying goods. Schools teaching the next generation echoed across the planet. On the eve of the 3rd anniversary of Imerus's discovery, Mara stood on the balcony of the New Horizon Council Hall, Beside her, Jonas Alexei unfurled the first official flag of the human exile empire, a black phoenix rising from a field of silver stars. Beneath the emblem, the words "From exile, we rise" glowed. In bioluminescent thread, Mara raised her glass of fermented grape concentrate, Earth's oldest export, revived here in new vineyards tended under tempered domes. To Emeris, she toasted, voice clear in the brisk air, may we honor the Avorian warning, forging new worlds without forgetting our humanity. As the twin moons of Emerisophilia and Thalos rose together in the dark sky, humanity's exiles celebrated not as castaways, but as architects of their own destiny. In the forge of stars, they had not only survived, they had been reborn. Beneath Emeris's cobalt sky, the fledgling exiles awoke to a new dawn, one not marked by the Council's condemnation, but by their own ambition. The crystal spires of New Horizon caught the first light, refracting it into prismatic arcs that danced across the young city's domes. In the Grand Council Hall, carved from Avorian basalt and fused with human steel, Captain Mara Elise donned the mantle of Empress, the ceremonial robes trailing behind her like comet's tail. Before her assembly stood the first Senate of the human exile empire, representatives drawn not by bloodline, but by merit, scientists, engineers, farmers, artists, and military leaders whose unity would underpin this nascent power. Mara's voice rang clear through the hall as she tapped a crystal orb, activating a holomap of the surrounding star lanes. We were banished for perceived threats, she proclaimed. Today, we claim our place not as supplicants, but as partners, pioneers, and protectors of the galaxy's future. Let the Empire stand as a testament to humanity's capacity for growth and responsibility. With a graceful sweep, she highlighted emerging trade routes linking Emeris to the Virant Belt asteroid colonies and to the Kesari clusters beyond. By fostering cooperation rather than coercion, we will ensure that exile becomes our greatest strength. The Senate chambers erupted in applause, though beneath the fervor lay the careful hum of debate. Ambassador Jonas Alexei rose next, his silver-streaked hair catching the lights. We extend open arms to those the Concord once ignored, he declared, unveiling the first edict, free passage and medical aid to fringe species, the Kesari miners, plagued by corporate exploitation, the Virant clans guarding Heliox crystals, and the drift folk who navigated the debris fields of ancient wars. In exchange, Alexei continued, we ask for knowledge, resources, and the shared promise that no species shall stand alone. The edict, christened the Covenant of Equal Footing, was sealed with the emblem of the phoenix clasping hands, with an interlaced ring of alien glyphs. Within weeks, ambassadors from distant worlds arrived at Emeris's orbital station, Arian Gate. The first to dock were the slender, translucent envoys of Kesari bodies like glass spires, eyes that shimmered with collective awareness. They had once recoiled from humanity's terraforming zeal. Now they offered raw plasma filaments in exchange for human bioremediation techniques that could heal the scorched scars of their asteroid forge. Next came the Virant clans, who negotiated exclusive mining rights on selected asteroids for the Empire's expanding fleet, securing Heliox crystals critical for sustaining fusion engines. Each alliance was celebrated by festivals on Emeris's surface, where alien lanterns mingled with human fireworks under twin moonlight. The military, too, underwent transformation. No longer mere survivalists, human engineers retrofitted recycled asteroid hulls into sleek frigates, their hulls embossed with Emeris's dual phoenix crest. Dr. Talia Novak, now Grand Engineer of the Imperial Navy, oversaw the forging of Aurelius, the Empire's first dreadnought, a colossal warship powered by a stabilized microsingularity reactor. Its purpose, she emphasized, was deterrence, not domination. We build not to conquer, but to defend our sovereignty and aid those who cannot defend themselves. Yet power brought its own trials. A faction known as the Purists, led by General Victor Rana, stoic veteran of the Exodus, argued that openness risked vulnerability. They demanded stricter immigration controls and prioritized military expansion over civilian welfare. In the Senate's shadowed galleries, debates grew heated. Should the empire invest in more colony fleets or fund education and culture? Mara navigated these tensions with a steady hand, convening a festival of voices, a public forum where every citizen, human and alien alike, could speak. It was the first true exercise in imperial democracy, and when the votes were tallied, funding for cross-species schools won by a narrow margin, much to Ron's reluctant respect. Meanwhile, on distant frontier worlds, small expeditionary teams sowed the seeds of empire. On Hassium 4, terraforming crews built floating glass cities on acid seas, harvesting valuable isotopes. On the jungle world of Xarian, human botanists and local sapient felinoids co-developed symbiotic crop strains that flourished in monsoon rains. Each colony dispatched periodic flavor broadcasts, holographic postcards of prodigious harvests, and newly discovered wonders back to New Horizon, stoking patriotism and pride. Children on Emeris studied these broadcasts as living textbooks, dreaming not of Earth, but of the varied tapestry of worlds they would one day visit. Trade hubs sprang up along established star lanes, and commodities ranging from virant crystals and Kesari biopolymers to Emeris-grown hydroponic delicacies flowed in increasing arrays. Merchant guilds, once secretive cartels, found new transparency under the Covenant's regulations. A bustling marketplace orbiting the asteroid Maro Station became the Empire's first economic freeport, where goods exchanged hands in daylight, not shadow. It was proof that commerce could bind cultures as surely as treaties. But as the Empire thrived, ripples reached even the distant seat of the Galactic Concord. Reports of a potent new Force One that blended innovation, compassion, and formidable military might forced the High Council to reconsider their stance. Spies aboard Concord dreadnoughts testified that the human exile Empire's fleets never struck first, and that relief shipments arrived even in the Concord's own crises: famine on the moon of Rysela, and industrial accidents in the Valter sector. These acts of unexpected benevolence sowed doubt among the Council's rigid hierarchies. On Emeris' third anniversary of colonization, Empress Mara convened a grand convocation beneath the monoliths, the silent witnesses of the Avorians' ancient warning. Sentinels of every allied world formed a circle round the central obelisk, its glyphs now softly glowing in respectful greeting. Hand in hand with alien envoys, Mara raised the Covenant scroll aloft, its seal burning bright. "We stand here," she proclaimed, voice carrying across the crater plain, "not as conquerors, but as custodians of tomorrow. May our empire endure, not by force alone, but by the bonds we forge in trust." As twin moons Ophelia and Thalos rose in tandem, their light pooling on the stone, the assembled multitude erupted in acclamation. From exile sprang an empire diverse, dynamic, and destined to redefine what it meant to be human among the stars. And though the Council's judgment still lingered in distant chambers, the empire of humanity had proven that its strength lay not in ancient pedigree, but in the courage of unity and the promise of a shared future. The starlands between the Concord's heart world and Emeris crackled with tension. Over 1,000 warships arrayed on each side, their hulls gleaming softly in the void as distant suns refracted off. Their armor, nebular clouds, remnants of a supernova centuries past, twisted between the fleets, casting shifting shadows like silent observers to the looming clash. Storm brews in the darkness, and board the Phoenix Ascendant, Empress Mara Ali stood before a vast holomap of the Starlight Divide. It showed the Imperial and Concord fleets converging on a disputed neutral zone. Just outside the rim exclusion boundary, hundreds of sensor buoys dotted the expanse, reporting shield fluctuations and power signatures. An ominous hush had fallen. Across both armadas, no vessel dared fire the first shot for fear of irrevocable war. Beside Mara, Grand Engineer Talia Novak tapped the console. "Our shields can withstand up to 10 gigaton strikes, but only for minutes. If they break formation and concentrate fire on a point, we'll lose ships." She pointed to a cluster of frigates. "I recommend deploying the new phasic cloak modules. Let our scouts shadow their vanguards. Gather intelligence, then fall back." Mara nodded, assessing the data. "Do it. And ready the diplomatic channel on all frequencies. I'd prefer parley to plasma." In the command pit, Admiral Janos Mercer, recently promoted, after demonstrating brilliant tactics during the Kesari. Skirmishes studded the Concorde signal logs, their broadcasting radio silence. "Your Majesty, no response to our hail. Requests, it's as if they expect us to break." A flicker of frustration crossed Mara's face. "Then we'll break the silence." She drew a slow breath. "Transmit the ultimatum once more. Peaceable integration or withdrawal beyond the exclusion zone. 1 hour, then we decide whether mercy or might prevails." The Concorde's ultimatum for on the other side of the starlit gulf, in the command citadel of the vigilant dawn, Admiral Salidra of the High Council paced before her own holomap. It painted the same tableau, an armada bristling with imperial dreadnoughts each one, a testament to human resourcefulness, and Concorde cruisers arrayed in stalwart formation. Behind her, holographic emissaries from the 13 council races whispered in anxious tongues, "The humans have grown too strong," intoned the augur of the Nerethery. "Their colonies stretch beyond the borders we set. Their void ships eclipse our dreadnoughts in efficiency." But another voice, softer and more measured, rose, the consul of the Tevran. "Power unchecked is dangerous, yes, but they have shown restraint. Our scouts report relief fleets to friend and foe alike. Perhaps they can be partners." Admiral Salidra raised a slender hand. "We stand at the precipice." Our ultimatum went unheeded. "They demand equal voice in the council, an affront to our centuries-old hierarchy. I will not bend tradition for exiles, neither will I strike first. Let them come forward." She tapped a keystroke. "Transmit our reply, terms of surrender, or engagement authorized in 60 minutes. The hour of decision back on the Phoenix Ascendant." Flight decks hummed. Squadrons of phasic corvettes slipped from hidden bays under cloak, trailing ghostly contrails as they probed Concorde pickets, spotting patterns in their patrols. Imperial tacticians pieced together the Concorde formation, a layered defense, with anti-capital frigates screening the outer zones, and heavy artillery cruisers nested near the center dot in the Grand Council Hall. Of the Ascendant, Empress Mara convened her war council one last time. Ambassador Jonas Alexei, flanked by allied envoys, spoke earnestly. "Our friends among the fringe species urge a diplomatic solution. The Kesari pledge their plasma filaments. The Virants offer a show of solidarity. Let us endorse the olive branch before drawing the sword." General Victor Rahn, his purest supporters in uniform standing stiff behind him, countered, "We have waited long enough for courtesy that may never come. If we do not act decisively, we risk seeing our children exiled anew, this time to the bottom of the void." Mara weighed their words. The hourglass hovered. 45 minutes remained. She fixed the assembly with steady eyes. "We sail not as conquerors, but as equals. I will offer one final peace accord, mutual defense and shared governance. Should they refuse, our phasic cloak frigates will disable their outer pickets, opening a path to the vanguard formation. We fire only if fired upon." She raised her voice for all to hear. "We stand ready, my people, my allies, my empire." Clash beneath ancient nebulae as the final minute ticked away. The Imperial fleet formed a crescent, its center bristling with dreadnoughts. Across the void, the Concorde mirrored the maneuver. Then, in the silent seconds before midnight, the comm channels lit with a single transmission burst packets of data. Encoded in the archaic celestial dialect, Mara's calm chief leaned forward. "It's Salidra. She's opening the channel now." The Admiral's visage materialized before them, stern, regal, her uniform a salute to authority. Empress Mara Elise, her voice crackled with static. "Your final offer is noted. We consent to review your treaties provided your fleets stand down and withdraw to Emeris's orbit." Within 12 hours, Mara exchanged a glance with Alexei. It was a concession but a doorway. "Admiral Salidra," she replied, "we accept your conditions. We will reposition to Emeris orbit for council review. In the spirit of transparency, I propose joint inspections of our colonies and joint surveys of disputed worlds. Let no shadow taint our accord." Salidra's image hesitated, a flicker of surprise crossing her composed features, then she inclined. Her head agreed. "I will transmit docking coordinates for the Veneration Station neutral ground for our respective envoys." The holo signature blinked out. Across the bridge, a cheer rose, a collective exhale of relief and triumph. Talia Novak cracked a laugh. We just won peace by the skin of our teeth. Mara allowed herself a small smile. Not by force, but by faith in who we are. Let us prove them right. Toward a new council 12 hours later, the Phoenix Ascendant and the Concord flagship Vigilant Dawn drifted side by side. At Emeris's orbital ring, between them floated the reconstructed ruins of Avorian fragments, repurposed as neutral docking pylons for the approaching council convocation. Delegates from every fringe alliance, Gasari, Virant, Ixarian Felinoids, and more gathered aboard. Their ships arrayed in respectful salute. Empress Mara, clad in the simple yet dignified robes of Imperium, descended the gangway onto the neutral platform. Admiral Salidra awaited her, flanked by the 13 council envoys. The two leaders exchanged measured bows, a gesture heavy with centuries of history. Salidra spoke first. Empress Elise, let this be the first day of partnership, not posturing. Her tone carried earnest gravity. Let us forge a council of equals where every world's voice resonates. Mara extended her hand, a symbol of defiance turned to diplomacy. I cannot undo the exile you decreed, but I can build a future where humanity's exile becomes a bridge, not a barrier. Together, we will ensure that the stars belong to all who dwell under them. As their hands met, the assembled multitude broke into applause that echoed through the orbital corridors. Below, Emeris's surface lay bathed in the light of Dauntwin, moons retreating in the sky. Saracen 6's morning beams glinting off new mountain-forged solar rays. The world they had sculpted from exile now shimmered as a beacon dot in that moment. The ancient Avorian warning etched into the monoliths centuries ago seemed vindicated. Balance creation with restraint, lest you awaken oblivion. Humanity had balanced power with purpose. The true test lay ahead, rebuilding trust on the galactic stage, but the first step had been taken. Where once exile had threatened to extinguish them, now it ignited the spark of a new empire forged in the void and guided by the light of unity.